Welcome once more to the show. Fáilte arás arís chuig an show, episode number 75, agran iwwer seachtain cuaig an seachtain seo an cin an dara lá Jake, the 12th of November to bhí na sauna. How are all you guys doing? Consultative galéir. Hope everything is going well for you this week and that the weekends before went well also. So tasúil agam gul gachard ag dul goma an seachtain seo agus go raibh gachard goma leis an deir seachtaine atá imithe the weekend just gone. Freshen. All is good here in Seville. The gachard goma an seo is Seville. I have to say, caught me raw that both today, which is Tuesday as I'm recording, and yesterday Monday, so inniu to March agus mise ag tafadú agus inné freshen. I've been feeling great. I've been feeling really good. Tá mé mothú go hintach, and not fully sure why. Ní mé long cínse cén fá, but I think definitely over the last month or two, and I've spoken about this a bit in the podcast, le mí nó chó nús agus bhí mé ag labhairt faoi seo beaganín an bud craile. I've kind of lost my motivation with a few things, so tá mo chuid sprágu cailsa agam le rud nó go agus I think just feeling a bit lazy ag mothú beaganín leisciúil freshen, and just, I don't know, a bit Auschwitz at times, or not wanting to do that many things, gone a bheith ag géirí mór an rudí a dhéanamh. And whatever has kind of happened, I feel like I've kind of clicked back into gear. Mohium gwil rud aigen tarlithe clickalsa agus tá mé mothú mars ganach arís. I'm kind of feeling as normal as usual again. I think part of the reason might be is one of the things I was kind of realizing yesterday morning. So rud nó go och mé fi jara madsen inné ach freshen an dátheangach. Also on Sunday, I saw this video on Sunday evening that came up on Instagram, so hunnig me on hísan seo a tháinig aníos, and it was Pharrell Williams. So Pharrell Williams a bhí ann, the American singer-songwriter an Taranní Americanach, and he was speaking a bit about, I suppose, life in general. So bhí sé ag labhairt beaganín faoin saol go ginearálta, but specifically he was kind of saying gohoirthe nó díreach bhí sé ag labhairt faoi how like incredible it is that kind of everything we do in life is connected to something else that's been done. So gachar the elements sa saol tá sé ceangailte le rud ag an eile atá déanta. You know, everything kind of influences everything else. The chunker a gach rud there ar gachar eile, and I might speak more about that later. Chance go leabhar mé níos mó faoi sin níos déine. But he was also talking a bit about freedom and kind of choice and being able to do what you want in life. Bhí sé ag labhairt freshen faoi Saoirse agus na rana atá agat agus a bheith in ann peirud a dhéanú, peirud ó bhfuil tú ag géirí a dhéanú, so that you're able to do whatever you want to do in life. And also more than that, beidir níos mó ná sin, the thing that kind of awoke something in me or kind of inspired something in me and rud a bhoscail rud ag an onam bin. So that was the song in the background on Tarann sa chulra, and it was actually a song by Pharrell, Aran le Pharrell, Aran Darvanam Freedom. So a song called Freedom by Pharrell. So stoilum, I guess. Most people listening to this, or a lot of people listening to this, are listening on Spotify or Apple Music. Landini eiilleacht le seo tá sé eiilleacht Spotify, no Apple Music. So if you want to go and pause and listen to Freedom by Pharrell and kind of get a grip of what I'm talking about, because má tá tú gurí mothú, you know, ceantais rud ó bhfuil mé ag labhairt faoi an seo, then feel free to do that. But the song is, I found it really powerful, to be honest. Like on Cútach Dumsa, the way it kind of conveys this message about like how incredible life is. Céach of speisialta agus céach of dochredsa agus atá an saol, and especially the freedom you have it on tíirse atá agat. And it really made me think, you know, an bhfuil sagt just nor a higan tú rud aigen when you kind of understand something or something kind of clicks inside you. And I was thinking, isn't life incredible, the amount of choice you have every day? nach bhfuil an saoil do chreidse an méid rawa atá agat gach lá. I know I was speaking about this about a month or two ago on the podcast. Tá sagam grá méid labhairt fao seo thart ar bhí nóghó ó hin ar an budcréile, but I want to speak about it a bit more today, but in a slightly different way. Bhí mé géirí labhairt faoi arís an ach is slí beaganín zifriúil. And that's the idea, you know, when you wake up in the morning, there are Irian to our Madsen, you can do pretty much whatever you want with your day. Tá tú an payroll the yenu, or tá tú éirí le the law. I know some people might say, oh, well, it's easy for you to say because you're self-employed and you live here, blah, blah, blah. Tá tú féin hostia, agus tá tú the chónaí and sin. And I understand that, I get that. Tigam, sin, but at the end of the day, when you decide to go to work in the morning or you decide to do this or that, it's always a decision. I gcónaí cinenne atá i gceist. Sometimes it might feel like you have to do it, or the moille say gachi tú dhéanamh, but it is always your own choice and your own decision, and you have the freedom i gcónaí tá an tíirse agat to make a different decision chun cinenne difriúil a dhéanamh. Sometimes it can be tougher to make that decision, or the bhíonn sin níos deachar chun an cinenne sin a dhéanamh and to do something different agus rud éigean difriúil a dhéanamh. But I realise, probably more than anything else in life at the moment, beidir níos mó ná aon rud eile sa saoil tíorchanis. That's what kind of gives me happiness. Sin cad a thugann sonas dom agus sin an rud is tábhairtí ceapan in my head. That's maybe the most important thing, my freedom and the independence I have to kind of be able to do what I want an tíirse agus an nafsblach is chun mar rud hain a dhéanamh agus pérod ó bhfuil mé i géirí a dhéanamh. And it's just even small stuff. You know, if after recording this podcast, thrééis an podcréile seo a hafadú, if I want to listen to some music, I can listen to any music I want. No one is telling me what to listen to. Tá mé an éisteach le aon hour on. Sit down. Agus ní léon duine chun rálam ó chaithí tú éisteach leis an tower show. No one's going to say you have to listen to this one. These are examples that, you know, doesn't matter what your job status is or where you live. This is true for everyone. So on Iarna Áilleacht, if I decide I want to watch something on television, má tá mé géirí féchans rud éigean an telefís. Tá mé ná féchans payrod. I can watch anything or whatever I want. Again, there's no real limit or restrictions on it. Ní léon trórán nó srínta or churbe. If I want to go for a walk, má tá mé géirí dul siúlóid after this thréise seo, I can go anywhere in the city. Tá mé ná dul éonáis sa chathair. If I want to walk from here to Malaga, I can. Má tá mé géirí súil ó Seville go Malaga, tá mé ann. I'm not going to, ní mé chun é sin a dhéanamh, but I can if I want, tá mé ann. Má tá mé géirí. If I want to write, and again, this is one of the topics I kind of touched on a month or two ago, má tá mé géirí scríb agus seo ceann in the topicí around mé labhairt faoi cúpla mí ó hin. I can write about anything, and already 2 or 3 sentences in, hána féin gá nó trí Alberts is sé by sé go thomláin difriúil ó aon rud atá scríofa ag aine roimhe seo. It'll be 100% different already 2 or 3 sentences in from anything anybody has written before. And isn't there like great freedom with that and great adventure with that? Nach bhfuil astar iontu agus Saoirse iontu ag buint le sin I mothirim se. I think I was more than anything thinking about it in terms of stuff like bhí mé ag smaoinne faoi níos mó na aon rud eile rudaí ag buint le scríb, léamh, ag éisteach le ceol, ag éisteach le podcréaltaí, ag crothú, so writing, reading, listening to music, listening to podcasts, creating, learning stuff, ag fólam rudaí, difriúla, learning languages, ag fólam tangacha, and again, just how much freedom you have. If I want to start learning Russian, I can start, especially with the internet nowadays, go háirithe leis an Idirlín sa lá tá neamhan. If I want to start learning Russian, má tá mé géirí túsa chur le fólam na rúiseise, I can. Tá mé ann. If I want to change after 2 days to Japanese, tá mé ann. I can. And I'm not saying this specifically to me, I'm saying this about everyone. Tá mé labhairt faoi seo Madslanians. I think, you know, the reason why I'm speaking about this on fá bhfuil mé labhairt faoi seo, I think over the last month or two, I've probably been going through the motions with a lot of things. You know, mar dearfá I Maryla, as you say in English, kind of going through the motions. And just not anything bad, ní aon rud go donna, but just sometimes not really concentrating or kind of zooming out, ní actually díreasteach or aon rud orintha ag zoom all amach and kind of thinking about the bigger picture ag smaoine faoin Yvonne is mó and thinking about again how the scope of life, like kick of Latin agus atá on sale, how kind of broad it is and all the different things you can do and maids ruddy to furla gur féid leat déanamh. I think it's easy no matter what your situation is, tá sé anéasca is cum a céim sa situation atá agat to kind of get into that mode, go through a few weeks, a few months, a few years even, dul trí cúpla seachtain, cúpla mí, cúpla bliain few, without kind of thinking about the bigger picture, gan the bheith smaoine faoin Yvonne is mó, and without kind of opening your eyes and going, oh, like, isn't life so cool, the amount of things you can do, nach chuil an sail do chredsa agus cóh cool on maids ruddy gur féid leat déanamh. And I think that definitely gave me a boost the last day or two, thinking, especially I suppose I have it to an extreme, tá an mód sais extreme agam chlí in a way, because every day when I wake up, gach lá nar I'm sus, I don't have much of a schedule in terms of work, maybe more on to schedule or schedule socríthe agam, a fixed schedule in terms of work. A lot of my work I can do when I want, a lá some chuid zibre, tá mé an a dhéanamh nar tá mé géirí, and because of that I have it even more maybe than some other people, tá sé agam beidir níos mó ná daoine eile, but isn't it so cool that you have your own life, gohfuil de héal hain agat, and I think we forget sometimes, Jane and Jarmad, orintha, how much you can affect your own life and do what you want. And if you want to start listening to something completely different in your podcast today, you can. Má tá tú géirí éisteach le rud éigean go hiomlán difriúil in the fud crailty inniu, tá tú ann. Maybe some people might be doing that after listening to this nonsense space go mai daoine ag déanú rud éigean cosúla sin tar éis an scaffold seo Gaeilge Weekly. If you want to start running, tá tú ann. Or if you want to stop running or stop something you're doing, tá tú ann. You can. Like, I just think, I know it's fairly basic and obvious stuff. Tá sagam goil say bonusach agus is rud éigean on a solar, it's something very clear. But I think it's really cool and it's easy to forget. Tá sé anna cool agus tá sé an éasca chun dearmid a dhéanamh freisin. I think especially when you're working the same job every day and doing the same things, it's very easy to fall into the routine. Tá sé an éasca chun titmasteach chuig an gnáthimh sin, and to forget that you can change things or you can do things however you want. Tá tú an rudí ahrú agus tá tú an rudí a dhéanamh aon clí in any way that you want. And I think people forget that. I suppose this goes back to what I was talking about last week. Beidir, go Jane sé seo arás chuig cad bhí mé ghláirt faoi an seachtain sa caite about politics and sometimes my lack of interest in politics and elections. An aspa sima atá gan sanna táchaí agus sa bolaíocht freisin. I follow them pretty closely, being made lanage na táchaí agus an bolaíocht, because it's interesting for me. Tá sé simul dom, but I don't really care ultimately that much, or I don't think it matters as much as people think. Ceapam nach chuil sé chomh tábhachtach mar ceapan daoine in terms of who wins, mads le cé a bhuain na táchaí. And one of the reasons why I think people, especially the last few years, people get so sucked into who's in government or who's not, agus bíon daoine chomh gafa le cé atá sa réaltas agus cé nach bhfuil, when that's not what governs your life. Ní é sin an rud atá gceannas ar the héal. That's not the thing that's kind of governs or is in control of your life. Tá tusa i gceannas ar the héal. And okay, governments might have an effect on one or two things here and there. Beidir go mai tunker ag an réaltas agus policia difriúla and different policies ar the héal on your life. But really, when you wake up every day in ná éire and they're airíonn tú gach lá, you're in control of your day. Tá tusa ag gceannas ar the law. And most people listening to this live in the US, Ireland, the UK. I don't know why I said the US first. It's Ireland, obviously. Sin an tír le níos mó éistrí ná aon tír eile. That's the country with more listeners than anywhere else. But Ireland, the UK, the US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, so éire an réic daintia, na Stát Aontaithe, an Astral, Nua Héileán, agus Canada, and then even places like Germany and France and Garmon agus an rank. And in all those countries, like, we're so lucky. Sna sin tá dearagarin, because we have that freedom. And I know people argue so much about freedom nowadays. Ag only been dinig a garan agus ag lauert agus é argons, so giving out and speaking and arguing. We Saoirse, and freedom has become quite a negative word in political spheres, so full of tíocht an is tá focail sin Saoirse tá sé soch dúilteach. Really, it's fairly negative, and it's associated with the far right a lot of the times. Tá sé ag point leis an far right go minic. But in reality, all it is being able to get up every day, sin a bheith in an Irish gach lá, and say, okay, if I want to write about this, má tá mé géirí scríobh seo, I can, tá mé an. If I want to go here, tá mé an, I'm able to. Má tá mé géirí, so if I want to start a new project, tionscláil nua hosú, I can, tá mé an. If I want to leave my job, I can. Má tá mé géirí mo fust ágal, tá mé an. If I want to move to this city, I can. Má tá mé géirí bogu tí an chathair seo, tá mé an. And again, some people might be saying, well, again, you need money to do these things. Yeah, you do, but everybody has the freedom to make money. Tá an tír sé gach den a hon agad hiile. Well, knows an seo sa Spáin tá, in Éireann tá, so in Spain do, in Ireland too. It's not easy, níl sé éasca, not at all, ní ar churbe, but I wouldn't say everybody, but most people tá an chance ag an good smó sa réine honna sin a dhéanamh, and it is tricky. Tá sé deachar honna dhéanamh, but I just think that's great, and that's so beautiful about life. Tá sé sin comhálainn faoin saoil, that every day when you wake up, ultimately the choice is yours what you do, and you can kind of pick your own path. And that's not to say it's easy, it's not to say you'll be able to manage it. Ní hé sin le rá go na roi leat agus go mbeidh sé éasca, but you've at least got the choice to go for it and to always have a chance. You go only by an rá agat an dul agus iirecht dhéanamh leis an rud sin, agus you go only by chance agat. Then yeah, I suppose now I'm focusing in more so on the bigger life path kind of side of it, ag smaoinmh faoi an saoil generalta agus a bheatha agus rudí mar sin. Well, really more so thinking about it in terms of what you listen to, what you write, what we watch, that we have that choice. It's really cool. Not cool to say cool, because in so many places around the world, lá náit they're falling down, I think we forget that people don't have that choice. Níl an rá sin ag daoine in lá náit they're falling down. Think about somewhere like North Korea, so if we an cre hui, or even places where there's maybe a lot of censorship or not much internet access, let alone kinshrucht. So places with a lot of censorship, no áitsna gone more on ruchtán Idirlín, places without much internet access. And one of the other things then, again, to go back to the original points, ag teachtar on bun faoinse, one of the things that Pharrell was speaking about, Ceann and Ruddy around Pharrell ag labhairt faoi, was about how special it is that nothing is new. Ag labhairt faoi cé chomh speisialta agus atá sé nach bhfuil aon rud nua. Everything we make comes from something else that's been made. Gach rud a bhíonn sé crothú, tagann sé ó rud ag an eile. Atá déanta agus tá crothaí a hana féin that's already been created. You imagine, well, the song itself, Freedom by Pharrell Williams, an taran a féin, Freedom le Pharrell Williams, it's a brilliant example of simplí iontacha, because you can hear through the song a massive influence from blues. So tá tú an a chlostal I ri an aran an sunker ó cheol blues. So music is always an easy example, like only is sampla éasca é an cheol. But if I take something else like this podcast, más bhainm faoi rud ag an eile cosú leis an budcréile seo, one of the big inspirations, you might think, okay, this podcast is completely original, tá an budcréile seo lán original agus ní léon rud eile cosú leis, there's nothing else like it. But okay, there might not be Ceann nGaeilge, there might not be in the kind of Irish language world, but a massive inspiration for this was the work that Easy Languages do. So, inspirad agus spraga mór dumsa, maidir leis an budcréile seo agus Learn Irish Online go generalta, Learn Irish Online General, that was the work that Easy Languages do, sin an lobre dhéanamh in Easy Languages, mar hapla, for example, Easy Spanish, Easy German, these YouTube channels and Patreon channels, Easy Italian. Agus, gach no gachor a bhín mé ag crothú podcréile nua, tá píosa de Easy Languages tíbhaiste san podcréile seo. There's kind of a small bit of Easy Languages in each podcast because it's part of the motivation, the inspiration, and kind of the way I model this podcast for a lot of the things I do. Lán san rudí a dhéanam. Tá siad bunaithe chlí, just chlí an bheog in a very small way. Chlí tá siad bunaithe Easy Languages. No beidir Ceann in the Latin Instagram, one of the pages on Instagram for learning Spanish. On Spanish olam. Often when I'm trying to come up with new content, new ideas, gomininic nar bhín mé ag teach sús le content lua le smuointí nua for learn Irish online, LIO. I just type in on Instagram, learn German, learn Spanish, learn Espanol, learn Italian. So bhín mé closecríomh in Instagram, learn Spanish, learn Italian, learn Deutsch. And I just look at what other pages are doing. Bhín mé féchans cad tarsúil ag na Latin eile from other languages, dátheangach eile, because not many people are doing it in Irish. Níl mór an daoine ag déanú an rud seo, an smaoinú seo sa gCéadóin. So it's kind of easy to look at other pages and take inspiration, not rob their ideas ní a good smaointí a thógáil ach spraga agus inspirads a thógáil. So take inspiration and motivation from what they're doing. Cad atá ag gceist agus cad atá ar siúil acu. And equally, the content they make, the content Learn Deutsch, whatever, on Instagram makes, on content bhín Learn Deutsch, mar hampla, on content bhín siad ag déanú ar Instagram, well, they probably got that inspiration from some other page, or from a friend, or from some random idea that they saw, or from a quote from Michael Jordan. Like, it's cuma, it doesn't matter. And again, that thing came from something else. And gachrad tagann sé a rud ag an eile, agus gachrad tá sais roots aige I rud ag an eile, agus an sin tá roots ag an rud sin, I rud ag an níos stiffness, everything is kind of roots in something else, and then that thing is roots in something deeper. And I just think that's also cool. Sin an a cool freshen, when we're creating something, there bhín muid sé crothú rud aigen, that it's original in one way, chlí amháin tá sé go hiomlán original, but in another way, it's always based or related to something else. Ag only tá sé bunaithe ar rud ag an eile, no, ag buint le rud ag an eile. And I think that's cool that even when we're making something as individuals, there bhín muid sé crothú rud aigen mar chuoine éonar, it's also just kind of this collective thing from almost everybody that's ever existed. In malach aigen chlí aigen is rud chóchutsan. It's kind of a collective thing at the same time. Ceann. I just thought that was really cool. And again, this freedom and how wide the scope is on tíirse seo agus cé go bhleathan agus atá an scope when you're creating something or when you're consuming stuff. They're bhín tú géisteach agus ag féchans ar rudí eile in terms of the choice you have on rawa atágat agus an tíirse atágat the freedom you have to choose whatever you want. So on ein rawa bhfuil tú éirí a dhéanamh. So I don't know. I feel like I maybe made this better, said this better probably in the other two podcasts. Beidir go raibh mé an é seo a chur nuail níos fearr ar an dá podcréile eile an seachtain seo. So a good reason for you to listen to those two and listen to the slightly harder and faster Irish in those two. So fá deas chun dul agus éisteacht leis na gCéadaoin agus Gaeilge beaganaí níos deacra agus beaganaí níos tapúla. But hopefully people get what I'm saying, just that orintha being said deachar, sometimes it's tough. Life, it's easy to go through a time period tá sé éascail chun dul trí tréimhse and to kind of forget about the amount of choice you have and the amount of freedom you have to do all these cool things. On tíirse atágat agus an rawa atágat. I wish you could see me now. I'm doing all these hand gestures and my hands are out wide. Bheadh sé hintach tá méid tú an mé eáil agus ag buint úsáid as ma lábha agus iad ar fud na háte. They're all over the place, but like I just think it's easy to kind of forget that. Tá sé éascail an dearmadí dhéanamh ar sin, and I know the podcast isn't too serious normally. Tá sagam nach míon an podcréile ro chaire ag an this is 2 weeks in a row. It's been more serious gá seachtain as a chéile go bhfuil sé níos daire. But sometimes just, when I think something like that could help people listening, or reminds people of something important that are listening, orintha nar cheapam gofuil rud éigean in an carú live na daoine i gcéisteacht an lucht éisteachta nó go mbeidh si in an rud éigean a chur gcuimhne see if it can remind you of something that dumsa or anos tá tábhachtach for me anyway, something that's important ceapan, gur fiú é. I think that it's worth it. So yeah, I was just wanting to speak a little bit about that this week. Fi mé gur labhairt faoi seo beagnaín an seachtain seo. Apart from that, all is good here in Seville. Seach sé sin tá gachrad cumá an seo is Seville. As I said last few days, really taking more joy and more, I suppose, excitement. So to make buint níos mó taitneamh agus níos mó sult from creating things and planning different things I want to create for the future. As of a crothú rudí difriúil, like planál rudí difriúil, and that's probably, I suppose, the best way to wrap it up is happiest moments of yesterday for me on nóméid is feargus is sásta in a dumsa was when I went to the library and I took out my blank notebook, blank page or so my amach Latnach bán chur mé os mo chóir, I pushed it in front of me and I said, right, I'm planning out this new project which I'm working on, which is coming out in the new year. An tunscáil nua seo a flanál amach le haidh an bhliain nua, and again having that blank page and just thinking I am in control of being able to do whatever I want here with this idea. Tá mise I gceannas an smaoinemh seogus tá mé an péiread I dhéanamh leis. And maybe that's the best way of communicating the idea. Beidir gur sin an slí is fearr chun an smaoinemh sin chun an dearcha sin, that outlook a chur in uile to express or to communicate that idea. But everything else is good here, guys. Tá gach eile go maith an seo, and hope everything is going well with you guys. Crazy how little is left of the year. Tá sé duchreidsa cicmh beag agus atá an chuid eile an bhliain atá fácha agin. Only 7 weeks or so left before the end of the year. Níl a chuirtar seachtain fácha ribh deire na bliana. A big thank you as always, guys, for listening. So gur míle maith as a bheith géisteacht. If you're learning the language, which most people listening to this probably are, mas rud é gohfuil tuig fólam nGaeilge agus ceapam gohfuil an chuid is mód so chuoine ag éisle le seo gohfuil sibh ag fólam nGaeilge. Don't forget about all the usual stuff on Learn Irish Online, and you can get the courses on Corsi le fáil learnirishonline.com, learnirishonline.com, or you can sign up as a member for everything that we make on Patreon. Tá tú ná chlorú mar wall LIO and LIO. Full member over on patreon.com/learnirishonline. The links for everything are down below anyway. Tá na nascan a gléir hís on bud creile seo on this podcast. And if you're listening on YouTube, mas rud é go tú géisteacht ar YouTube, a big thank you as well. Gur míle maith galéir, because it's only in the last week or two that we've started to upload the podcast to YouTube on the Learn Irish Line channel as well. So níos seach le cúpla seachtain inús Thomas inis a chur na podcrailty, well, gach show it's a Gaeilge Weekly, sus air YouTube as well as Spotify and everywhere else. Cummal Spotify agus gach chela. Big thank you, guys. I'll speak to you next week. Le ra mi live an seachtain se hugan. Goodbye and God bless. Slán agus Beannacht.